Welcome back. We're just waiting
All right,
on the
court
judge.
will call
There
20
they
CR
are.
1358, People versus Leticia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Defense? All right, let's go ahead and bring them in.
Hey, Deanna, thanks for coming back.
Okay.
The screen should fix itself once they turn on the videos.
All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Leticia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we call our next witness, I want to talk to you a little bit about a change that I need to make in the back hallway. When we started this case, we started around spring break, so there was not all that much activity in the courthouse. I know that because sometimes I would get here, mine was the only car in the garage. But now that people are coming back, it's really, really common for lots of trials to get stacked up right after spring break. I am one of 6 district court divisions on this floor. Right now, everyone on this floor is in trial in one matter or another. Everyone on this floor also has a docket during one week of the day or one day of the week as well. So that creates a huge amount of traffic in the back hallway. Typically, when we have a jury trial, we're only using one jury room. I knew that I was going to have more than just the 12 presumptive jurors. I also knew that this case was going to take longer than 1 or 2 weeks. So when we do that, we use 2 rooms. So number one, we're not packing you in like sardines in the jury room, and you have some ability to have some comfort. But with that comes some restrictions. And we need to start implementing those because it's causing problems for other division staff. I'm sure you've seen the door to the holding cell that's right behind your jury box. And deputies will use that for other divisions because you shouldn't see any inmates being transported up and down the hallway because we're trying to keep that hallway clear. But somebody you might see in an orange jumpsuit, that's what that's all about. And that will happen oftentimes in a criminal docket when somebody's being held in custody. You'll see somebody in an orange jumpsuit going back and forth. You'll also see lawyers back there. You'll see deputies going back and forth. Every once in a while, you will hear a commotion out in the hallway. Every once in a while, you will hear somebody running by like a herd of buffalo. So we need to keep that back hallway clear. So a couple of things that I want you to do. You're still free to go between the two rooms, okay? But knock before you open the door, and you have to use the restrooms that are associated with the jury room. I don't want anybody going down the hallway anymore. I know that there are 2 restrooms down there, and I know that this puts a burden on you because you sort of have to wait. I get that, and I understand. If we need to take longer during a break, we'll do that. But right now, there is just a huge amount of people in the back hallway. So for your safety, for everybody else's safety, to make sure that there's no confusion as to who's supposed to be where, when, and all of that stuff, please stay in one room or the other and knock before you open the door. Mr. Combs will let you know whether you can come out or not, and we'll leave it at that. So with that, Mr. Allen, call your next witness.
Thank you. We'll call Tom Griffin.
All right.
Hopefully he's not wandering around in the hall.
Mr. Griffin, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step. You got to go around the other way. That's okay. Watch your step as you step into the stand.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Griffin. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your name for the record?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Griffin, Griffin.
Mr. Griffin, what do you do for work?
I'm a private forensic consultant in bloodstain pattern analysis, crime scene investigation, and reconstruction.
What kind of experience do you have in crime scene investigation, reconstruction, and bloodstain pattern analysis?
I spent 4 years as a crime scene investigator and forensic chemist with the Greeley, Colorado Police Department. I left there and then spent 29 years at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation Denver office, where I did forensic chemistry, but also headed a crime scene unit and did bloodstain pattern analysis, both on scenes and on evidential material that was submitted to the laboratory.
What kind of educational background do you have?
I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and then 4 years of graduate work in chemistry. I left that to go into the field of forensics, where I've taken numerous courses, particularly in bloodstain pattern analysis, 6 courses over the years of my time in the field.
Who are you currently employed by?
I'm a private consultant, so I have my own company. I formed after I left the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and I'm also a partner in a forensic consulting and training company out of Oklahoma City, Bevel, Gardner and Associates.
Do you have ongoing training that you participate in to make sure you stay sharp and abreast of any changes in the field?
I do. I attend conferences in bloodstain pattern analysis primarily. One is the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysts, meets yearly across the country. Also the International Association for Identification. It meets yearly as well. And I attend workshops there, as well as have taught since 2001, approximately 80 workshops in bloodstain pattern analysis for those 2 forensic associations.
Do you have certifications in bloodstain pattern analysis?
I do. The International Association for Identification began a bloodstain pattern certification program in 1999. I have maintained my certification in that and also served for 14 years on their certification board.
What about professional affiliations? Do you have any affiliations that go along or hand in hand with your bloodstain pattern analysis?
A current member of the International Association for Bloodstain Pattern Analysts, or of Bloodstain Pattern Analysis. I became a distinguished member there in 2011. And I'm also a lifetime member, meaning I've been in the organization more than 25 years, for the International Association for Identification, where I became a distinguished member there in 2016, and have also been involved in a Colorado-based group, the Rocky Mountain Association of Bloodstained Pattern Analysts, since its finding or forming in 1983.
Have you received awards in this field?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead and tell the jury.
The International Association for Bloodstained Pattern Analysis distinguished member was voted upon by the membership. It's not earned in that sense by applying for it. It's awarded by the membership. And I've also, for my distinguished membership in the International Association for Identification, I had to show evidence of participation in workshops, publication of articles in literature, and training as well.
So you alluded to my next question, which is, have you produced publications regarding bloodstain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction?
I have primarily two, both in bloodstain pattern analysis.
When were those publications done?
The primary one was, I believe, in 2010, excuse me. An article I co-authored on the foundations of bloodstain pattern analysis for the Journal of Forensic Identification. And then in the mid-1980s, I co-authored an article in the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysts newsletter.
Okay. Have you testified as an expert witness in bloodstain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction?
Yes, sir.
How many times?
Just over 50 times now in that field.
What jurisdictions?
Mostly Colorado, 5 other states since I went as a private consultant, and a few times in federal court in Denver.
Who, I guess when I say who, I mean what agencies or parties have retained you to work in bloodstain pattern analysis during your career?
When I was with the Greeley Police Department, it was cases that came in to that agency. When I was with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, there were cases that came in submitted from law enforcement agencies, as well as call outs to scenes at the request of law enforcement agencies. Since that time as a private consultant, I have responded to requests and worked for district attorneys, private attorneys, defense attorneys, and some law enforcement agencies.
Who pays you for that type of work?
It would be the agency that hires me.
So have you been hired by both prosecution efforts and defense experts?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I said experts, I meant defense parties is what I really meant to say.
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd move for qualification of Mr. Griffin as an expert witness in bloodstain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction.
Defense? No objection. The witness will be so qualified. Go ahead.
Mr. Griffin, what I'd like to do first, just so that we're all talking the same language, is go over some terminology. So what do you mean when you say the words crime scene reconstruction?
Crime scene reconstruction is a specialized field that looks at physical evidence that may include bloodstains, include other forensic fields such as DNA, firearms, shooting reconstruction, medical reports, autopsy reports, and by studying that information, the reconstruction's aim is to determine a best sequence of events and support events happening or not happening, and in response often to particular questions put out by attorneys and investigators.
When you're testifying in these types of scenarios and you're asked to do work in a particular type of case, are the parties paying for the type of opinion you render in a particular investigation?
No, sir. I only charge for my time, not my opinion in any way.
Okay. When we talk about bloodstain pattern analysis, tell the jury what we mean when we use those words.
Bloodstain pattern analysis is the examination of bloodstains, bloodstain patterns, their size, shape, distribution, location, scene context, and using physical characteristics of those stains and patterns, identify the nature of the pattern, and then possible events that may have produced any given pattern.
What is a spatter stain?
When I use the term spatter stain, I'm referring to any small blood stain, generally circular to elliptical, that was formed as a result of some motion putting blood into flight.
What about a non-spatter stain? What is that?
Non-spatter stain is a larger category that includes stains not containing only circles and ellipses, but smeared blood, pools of blood, absorbed blood, any blood or blood stain pattern that has something besides just circles and elliptical blood stains in it.
Can you tell a jury about any limitations of bloodstain pattern analysis?
It's only as good as the documentation to start with. And its goal is looking at sequence and possible events or mechanisms. It won't tell us whose blood it is, for example. Generally won't tell us how long blood has been on a surface. And the other limitations are what is available on scene, if it's a scene that we go to do the analysis, or what's the nature of the photographs and diagrams that we've had supplied to us, as well as other evidence that may be available for viewing.
As far as data that you're using to make your analysis and ultimately reach a conclusion, is best practices to have digital photographs taken and also a scene visit?
When possible, yes.
Is it typical for you to, while you're working on a particular case, to even review autopsy reports?
Most definitely. I make it a requirement before I'll issue a bloodstain report asking for copies of autopsy reports, since the nature of wounds, particularly bloodletting wounds, is a key component in looking at what possible events may produce stains and patterns.
What if there's no body? Can you still do your bloodstain pattern analysis without having access to a body and the evidence it might have, as well as an autopsy report?
I can and have. It's limited or produces the limitation not having wound information available.
When we're talking about limitations, again, on how effective your work can be in bloodstain pattern analysis, what if a scene has been wiped down or cleaned in some way? Can that cause limitations in what you can decipher from the clues you see on scene?
Yes.
In what way?
Anything that removes bloodstains or alters their appearance affects the physical characteristics of those bloodstains and limits perhaps even identifying patterns that are present, and then further limits concluding what type of events may have produced a given pattern or series of stains.
Okay. How did you become involved in the investigation of Gannon Stauch's disappearance?
On February 18th of 2020, Lieutenant McHollow,
Mahalko?
thank you.
Yep.
Called me telling me about the case and asking if I would be available to look at some pictures and possibly help them with a case.
Do you remember specifically what question you were asked to look into as it relates to that call on February 18th?
Primarily, if examination of photos and eventually the scene would help identify possible events or mechanisms that may have been responsible for producing blood stains on the scene.
So essentially, what may have caused these blood stains to be present in this particular bedroom?
Yes, sir.
What information did you have at that point regarding relevant factors that you may have to consider as you start your analysis?
At that point, the information was minimal. I was told that there was no body. Gannon's body was not available. I was primarily seeing spatter stains, and at that point, couldn't say anything more without additional examination or information.
Okay. Did you in fact actually end up going out to that particular scene?
Yes, I did on February 26th of 2020.
Tell the jury what you did on the scene that particular day, and then I'll ask you some follow-up questions about that.
I arrived on scene accompanied by FBI Special Agent DeFrance, whom I had met and carpooled with from Denver. And we arrived at the residence approximately 10:10 that day, met with